Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Randy B with Everyday Unicorns. Um, Here today, going to talk about the inbound placement fee that everyone's been discussing lately. Sorry, a little behind on getting this one out. Um, Amazon did make one change in some wording in one of their fine prints. I'll discuss it later. That could impact the strategy we're doing right now. But for right now, it's still um, compliant with their policies, and so we're gonna roll with it. As I tell everyone with Amazon, this is your business. Make sure you do all your own research. Everything I'm going by, I'm never going to jeopardize my account, and I'm never going to risk trying to jeopardize someone else. Not to say I don't mess up and I don't interpret something or read something differently. So absolutely, if you guys have concerns, see something ever, shoot me a message. More than happy to talk about it, get your thoughts. But everything right now I'm going to talk about is related to inbound placement fees. Um, I've got a PowerPoint. I'll go over the last few slides is really where we talk about the strategy. And leading up to that, we're going to go over um, just some general uh, basic items that we should always be doing to make sure we're maximizing this. Everyone's complaining about the fees. So, what I tell a lot of people, if you're going to complain about the fees, complain about them once you have making sure and taking care of minimizing any fees or company expenses that you've already are experiencing out there. And then Amazon also put some things out there, especially with these changes. They did make some items for us to get rebates back, some reduced fees later on. So again, I'll go into that here in a little bit, but for now, let's get over and we will share my screen. All right, and I will attach this PowerPoint in the files section, so you can scroll through it also if you don't listen to me as I go through just reviews. So all this started on March 1st. The new inbound placement fees. It does range anywhere from about we'll get into it. It's 12 cents to 60 some cents. For most standard size, there are some bulky and large size different fees, but the majority of people that doesn't fall. Also make it a full screen. All right. So again, what's our problem? Increased shipping costs for inbound shipping based on the number of warehouses and location of warehouses. Um, Obviously, a lot of us have already seen this where we used to be fortunate enough to ship just to whatever warehouse was close to us, or at least whatever major shipping warehouse. For those that don't know, not all Amazon warehouses are the same. The smaller locations are more designed for shipping to the consumer. They do have several large warehouses that their primary focus is solely inbounding all the products from third party sellers and anything Amazon buys directly into those warehouses and then distributing to the smaller warehouse. So we know if we're not shipping local, we are spending increased amount on shipping costs. We still do receive amazing shipping discounts. Amazon through their UPS uh, service on that. So that is still a positive on that. The first thing I gotta tell everyone to do, and this goes back to what I was starting off by saying, if you're not taking advantage of what Amazon's already putting out there, then you're missing out. Um, Go to my post that talks about new FBA sellers and FBM's new selection program. So in the past, this was solely for new sellers. This is not the case now. It's just labeled that. But please make sure you go through that. We'll do a slide here in a second that I'm going to go over some benefits that I bet a lot of people don't know. Just by clicking one button, you're going to be enrolled and part of this program. And then reminder, and we'll touch on this. You know, obviously it does suck that we're having to pay some increased shipping cost. But starting April 15th, we will see an average reduction in pick and pack fees of around 20 cents per unit. Again, it does vary. It just depends on the size of your items. But overall, I would say for most RA sellers, OA sellers, um, you're going to be looking around a 20-cent average per unit savings. So if you do everything right, and like right now, what we're seeing is only about 9 to 10 cent per pound shipping increase on average with the new setup. We have done the math, and that's actually gonna work out to about 12 to 15 cents reduction in fees after April 15th. So with all these fee increases on this one, this is not talking about the new low inventory fee. We actually could see a reduced overall fee here starting April 15th. So before we get into that, let me open up the screen. Guys, let me open up the screen. I can get to it. Let's try this again. All right, so here's the new selection program I was talking about. They've changed the name up a few times. In fact, they've changed it up several times since I've even done this little PowerPoint here slide. All you got to do, and here's the link. You'll have to type that in. I never recommend anybody ever clicks on a link, especially when it's in business. Uh, I'm going to always provide the information, but my recommendation is go through the search boxes and pull it up directly once you're logged into your seller account. So anyway, you're just going to go to your search box if you don't want to type it in. Type in FBA new selection program, and it's going to pop up with a screen, and you'll see there in the arrow. There's just a simple button there that says enroll now. Everyone needs to do this. There is no cost. There's no downside to this. Just go click it. Some of you guys might find out you've already been enrolled. We were already enrolled, but all the fine print says you need to click it again. So we did. Used to be you just got like $100 savings when we enrolled in it in shipping. There was a few other reduced things. But now there's going to be a lot of stuff. This will help everyone, including not just the inbound shipping, but down the road, this is going to impact low inventory fee. And again, I'll do a video on low inventory fee. Low inventory fee, if you're a new seller in 2024 or new to FBA in 2024, clicking this button is going to give you $400 in credits. Just to give you any. But let's talk about inbound placement. So Amazon, if you're enrolled in this, is going to give us rebates and credits or not charging us storage fees on anything that's new for us to FBA. So this isn't like it's a brand new item to Amazon. It's just new to each individual seller, which is key. I mean, the amount of, again, money back, money savings, this is huge. And the question has been, and this really ties into the low inventory fee, sending test items or clearance items, am I going to get charged with the fee? And you won't because of this. So you can read through here, but one of the things, 10% rebate on average back for brand new items, they're going to give us back in credits up to, you can read through it, certain amounts. There's free storage fees. If you unfortunately have to liquidize stuff, there's some credits for liquidizing stuff. And um, also, apparel and shoes, we all know how high of returns there are. So this is key. This, again, a lot of money savings here because they're not going to charge you um, return processing fees on this stuff for your new apparel and new shoes to FBA. If you are selling on other marketplaces, this will automatically enroll you across all of them. Uh, and again, as you can see, the very bottom line, this is good for any amount. But this right here, if you do nothing else and you stop the video here, this is absolutely the number one thing I can tell any Amazon seller right now. They must go enroll in this program by clicking the button and take advantage. There is then a dashboard you can actually track your history. So like us, it's shown our past history of rebates and stuff we were receiving free storage. And for the past little while, we saved about $900, which is no small amount of change. So, all right, so we're going to stop sharing this, and we're going to go back to the PowerPoint. All right, so we're going to do a little bit of background information. The first thing I've been hearing a lot of people saying, well, my shipping per pound rate is X amount, 60 cents or 75 cents. I'll tell you what ours was before the March 1st. Our baseline was about 24, 25 cents. We could get it down to as cheap as 22. We're using everything for UPS. We're not doing pallets or anything or truckload. Um, but based on the items we're selling, the way we sent stuff in, the way we did our boxes, that was our rate. And we haven't really changed that. We're still doing that exact same type of product, same density of products. So that's our base. Our new price has been averaging around 35 cents, sometimes a little bit cheaper, but overall our average has been about 35 cents. And again, this is also based on we live in Indiana, we're in the Midwest. So our warehouses were close to us. We have a lot of them here. Amazon, logistically, it made sense to be in the Midwest. Again, can't get much more centralized than that. So you can't really compare your per pound fee because what you sell, where you're located, is going to dramatically make a difference in your rate versus someone else's. So the key is comparing where you are now versus what your baseline. So make sure you're comparing that and don't worry about someone else. Like I said, if I've said I'm now 35 and you're 65, holy cow, how do I get to 35? You may not be able to. You sell pillows that are very lightweight and take up space, and we'll get into this billable weight versus actual weight versus dimensional weight. You just can't avoid that. So again, you're just trying to how you get this as close to your baseline and where you can minimize the fee. Um, if you haven't been tracking your per pound cost rates, I personally don't have a good way that's simple and quick to look through. We just manually track it. I have put a request into Inventory Lab, hoping they make an update that makes this easier to fix, figure our average rates, and see weight shipping. Currently, the only way in IL that I know of is you go into Inventory Lab, go into accounting, then click on inbound shipping. You're going to see your cost for each individual shipment you've sent to every warehouse, but it won't show you on that screen, even if you export it into CSX or Excel. Um, it won't show you the weight on that screen, unfortunately, so you can't just run a quick formula in Excel to figure it. You have to actually click on each individual shipment to see your labels, and then you can see the weight on it. Um, Again, sometimes in our business, sucks, might have to do a little busy work. But if you don't know your average, I highly recommend going in, figure your average total for the month of January and February, and that's going to figure your baseline. And then you can going forward see where you're at for March on. Again, don't look at a snapshot. I had one shipment where two items were going. Two of my warehouses were California. One was Oregon, and then two were local here. I wasn't getting mad that. I mean, I was frustrated, but I wasn't then just figuring, okay, what was California costing me? I was looking at the big picture and not just the big picture of that one batch of five warehouses. That's factoring into all my warehouses. So when I only have to, ship two here still in Indiana and one Pennsylvania, it's all averaging out. And ultimately, that's what you really want is the big number there. I can tell you that we talked about this previously in a prep center. The talk used to always be make sure you go if you're using a prep center, go with a tax-free state. That was always what you hear people say, and you hear them say even and the math does work out depending on what your prep center charges. If you use one, the cost that they charge per item, it actually might be cheaper than you to prep it yourself because you're using them as a tax-free state. There's only five tax-free states in the U.S., and unfortunately, none of them are in the Midwest. They are all on coast. Um, so I think going forward, if you're looking for a prep center, it is probably going to be key to look at a Midwest prep center and pay the taxes or look into where you're buying from. You will be surprised how many places accept tax exempt. And that's really, I think, the direction you're going to need to probably shift to. Personally, we don't use a prep center. We have sourced our prepping in house. We have uh, families that we have found that we contract to work out the labor and stuff. So they handle all our prep work, and we feel that we like that better. Helps our community. It helps some families that were needing help. Um, Keeps it local here. Has created it is a little bit more work on us to do that, but we're good with that. So again, prep centers. I think the strategy going down the road, if you're using those, is probably looking more Midwest. And I can tell you, if I'm a Midwest prep center, I'm going to be advertising the heck out of. I'm in the Midwest. Probably going to save you on shipping by being able to ship uh, in the center of the. All right, what fees are we trying to avoid? Just so we're clear on this, and again, guys, if you don't want to go through all these slides and stuff, you can jump to the last few slides. Again, you guys got to know your information, so I highly recommend making sure taking the time always to watch Amazon's videos, read the fine print of what's going on. So the fees are going to be based on the number of warehouses Amazon's telling you to send to and where they're located. So again, it's even worse. We're not even getting a set amount ahead of time if you're choosing um, not to go the optimization route, um, which is crazy. So it's not even, hey, if I go one to two warehouse, a single warehouse, it's this price per unit, or two to three, it's this price. It ranges, and they've broken it into uh, west, west, Midwest, East. And in their fine print, they've said basically they did give an example saying the West Coast would be more expensive per unit, and they haven't given the details why, but we all know cost of living. And then they've said East Coast next, and then Midwest. Now I can tell you from a lot of people's screenshots that have sent to me, that has not appeared to be the case. But also keep in mind the fees they are showing us ahead of time are only estimates, um, which is also scary because they're not going to bill you till 45 days after your product's been first received in the warehouse. So again, we talked about this a little bit later. We want to make sure we're doing everything right. Even if a fee isn't showing right now, Amazon has said when they receive product, it's based on how they receive product is how you will be billed um, on that. So the initial fees again are estimates. Looking at that, using Inventory Lab, I've seen some people, saying, "Hey, I've shipped to one warehouse, two warehouses, and when I go into Seller Central, it still showed zero fees." Well, if you look in that section where you can see the fees in Seller Central, first thing it tells you it's an estimate. Um, I truly believe if you're sending to fewer warehouses with Inventory Lab, you are going to get hit in 45 days with uh, the fees um, after the fact on that. I hope I'm wrong. I'm hoping anybody doing that. I hope that's not the case. But everything in Amazon's fine print says that's what's going to happen. When I made the slide, Inventory Lab was working to show the estimates because they currently, if you were not doing optimization, um, you couldn't see what the fees, and I think that's where some confusion. People were like, "Well, Seller Central says zero fees, so I'm good." As of this morning, Yoda over at Inventory Lab made a post on their official Inventory Lab page. If you guys didn't know, Inventory Lab, when the Three Colts bought them months ago, uh, the new ownership took over. One of the things I can tell you that I've personally seen is their communication now and more having someone that is willing to direct talk to people on Facebook has is just amazing because they're doing it now and they're listening to us and making the changes as quick as they can. One of the first things Yoda did was he heard that there was an official Inventory Lab group, but it was taken down for some reason by IL. They have reopened that. I highly recommend if you're using IL, be a member of that because if you got questions, super quick to send over there. Um, and they'll get you taken care of. Also, if you're using any of Three Colt's other products, they are, if they didn't have official pages for those products, like their new repricer, they have started individual Facebook groups just for each product they offer. And again, the service there is much better than it has been. And they're listening. More importantly, they're not just fixing what problems or questions you may have, but they're taking our suggestions. So go over to those pages. You got recommendations, shoot them over. They're definitely listening to us. So again, even if you have optimized uh, and Inventory Lab, or if you're still using Seller Central, which I don't recommend anymore, if you don't get 4 to 5 warehouses, or you're going to be charged, and this is what Amazon's telling us, you will be charged on the backside after 45 days for those products. There is some fine print that Amazon put out there. There are some categories that will trigger additional warehouses beyond the 4 or 5 that you will receive from optimization. That is shoes, apparel, watches, jewelry, oversized, and hazmat. Um, Now, this is where it's their fine print doesn't really clarify this. Their fine print says if you're shipping in these categories, they recommend shipping them in different batches. Um, I don't. When we ship in our shoes, we're mixing it in with our grocery and toys. And I guess also our apparel we're sending in, which is limited. But what is happening primarily with our shoes, and this was already happening before March 1st, our shoes go to different warehouses. Normally, they used to go to IND4. I know a lot of people hate that warehouse. Uh, Now, when we send, our shoes are being split into 3 warehouses. Um, we have been able to mitigate a few of those costs. Again, we'll talk about that at the end. Same strategy, but we're mixing that in. Now, what they haven't clarified in the fine print is okay, so we did optimization, we did our big batch, and then Amazon told us to ship to 8 warehouses. 3 of the warehouses were shoe warehouses, and then everything else was the rest of our stuff. The fine print's a little confusing because it kind of makes it sound like we could be charged for those three shoe warehouses. Um, the extra fees for going to a partial shipment split. I hope that's not the case since we did optimization and we ended up going to more than five in the same batch. But we won't know, unfortunately, until the earliest will be April 15th when the first set of fees start rolling in. And I can tell you, we're going to see the Facebook groups, everywhere else. Everyone's going to be, I'm sure, sharing their screenshots on um, what's what they received that they weren't expecting. But just know those categories will potentially cause you to go to more warehouses than optimization of 4 to 5 warehouses. Um, all right. So again, inventory lab with all this, it is absolutely the must to make this happen. There is a way in Seller Central. I guess you could do this. I've seen some screenshots. I had some friends that didn't have inventory lab before this that were sharing their stuff with me from Seller Central. Um, and I guess you could do it, but I can tell you it would be so time consuming um, and just nerve wracking, manually trying to split up your boxes. I don't see it being viable to use Seller Central if you're looking to optimize anymore. IL is going to be worth every penny. And with their split system, I really believe it's going to pay for itself. My one friend, she even she did the math and she thought one shipment alone using IL paid for the monthly subscription cost, whereas she done it in Seller Central. Um, it's not what we're talking about. The strategy here is not going to be for pallet. Anybody doing pallets or full truckloads. If you're doing that, I guess if you don't know Larry, Larry has a great 2D program. That's probably what I would recommend you look at um, into this if you're trying to hopefully reduce some fees. Uh, First thing though, you must go into Seller Central and set up for optimization. Um, Inventory Lab did announce also this morning that they do have a direct link to that now. I didn't look for it because we're already set up. It's pretty easy to go into your settings and get to it. But that is the setting if you're looking for no placement fees. If you're over there going, hey, I'm not going to be able to do 4 to 5 warehouses. I'm not saying quite enough product in. Excuse me. Then I recommend going with the partial shipment split and then selecting whatever region you're in um, and looking at that as the option. You could still do the strategy that here we're going to talk about um, in the few simple steps. Even doing partial shipment, I think you could minimize some costs that way. But again, for us, we're looking how do we get rid of the fees altogether. Um, and then also, it's not really been talked about, but when we are shipping to more warehouses, and ultimately, this is what Amazon, their reasoning gave us was get to the consumer faster. If I can get my product to the consumer faster, I'm going to be able to turn my money quicker. So if that means my product is getting put into other warehouses across the US versus before I was going to a select few here in Indiana and Illinois and waiting for transfer, I'll take that. That's a positive for me. And also, I know if my products are going to the coast, especially the West Coast, there's a better chance my products, if they're making it all the way out there, they're actually going to sell for more than what they will here in the Midwest. That consumer is used to higher cost. Um, so, again, I hope the regional buy box gods bless me a little bit more and give me some higher buy boxes maybe on that product out there. So to get to 4 to 5 warehouses, a few of the things we have seen, you're going to have to send enough units because again, Amazon is looking for everything to be split into 4 or 5 warehouses. They don't want you sending 200 different ASINs, one of each unit. They're not going to split that. They're going to send that to one warehouse, even with optimization. And because you have optimization, again, even though you have optimization, but it only goes to one warehouse, you're going to get charged the fee. So you got to be doing everything to make sure it's still going to go to 4 to 5 warehouses. So we recommend a minimum of 200 units. You can go less. I've seen people do this with less, but I think you're going to run in also to a problem with your average shipping if you don't have enough units in every box, if they're not super heavy items then. So the goal is going to be with what you're sending in, you need to be making sure the majority of your ASINs have a quantity of 4 or more. Again, they're wanting to spread the product across multiple warehouses. So if I send in 6 of everything, there's a good chance they're going to put one in all of my boxes or one in all the proposed warehouses. And then ideally, we hope the local warehouse gets the extra unit. So that's a piece also. Again, if you're not sending quantities, like I said, if I was to get 200 different grocery items and only send one of each, I am probably going to expect that to go to one warehouse. Maybe I'm lucky they send it to two, and then I'm going to be getting hit with fees. And then as we're packing our boxes, we're typically looking, and we've got a screen here on billable weight of boxes. Our goal is typically around 30 to 45 pounds in every box. Remember, you can't go over 50, and you can't go over 25 inches. We don't ever like to go over 24 inches on any box side, and we try and stay avoid over 47 pounds in a box. If you go over these dimensions, by the way, Amazon they will. They'll hit you with normally $25 per box fees. And then also you get hit with little violations, and eventually too many of those could get your privileges for sending FBA shut down, which again, nobody wants that. All right, so billable weight. And again, this may sound simple, talking about shipping boxes. And again, we got to go through some basics to make sure everyone understands. But just because a box weighs a certain weight doesn't mean that's what you're going to be charged, because all the shipping companies have figured the space on their trucks is X amount valuable versus, and the weight is also a factor. So again, back talking about pillows, if I ship a box of pillows that aren't super condensed down, they're going to take up a lot of space, but they're not going to weigh that much. So all the shipping companies, and you can go to their websites, they can tell you the math, the formula. There are a few websites, if you just Google calculating dimensional weight or billable weight, you can actually type in your dimensions and you can find out uh, what the dimensional versus billable weight is. Um, so that's key to know, but it's absolutely, and we didn't have it in here, but make sure you don't have void, empty space in your boxes, because you very likely could be paying for that space uh, when you're shipping. So cut your boxes down if you got space, or more importantly, if you got space and you're under 50 pounds, add more quantity of or more units of ASINs if you've got the extra product, or if you need to go out and buy more. Remember, your shipments don't have to go out same day. We have time after you create shipments to get them together and send them. So you could go source more product and top these off. We personally like to use Lowe's boxes. Every now and then we'll get Home Depot. Lowe's boxes, they used to offer bulk deals at 20 to 60 boxes at a time. A few months ago, they took away that bulk deal. We still personally, that's just the box we like to use if we're not reusing. You see we reuse all our um, Amazon boxes or any boxes we receive from our OA orders. Um, we did a post also. You can see there are some ways to also get some free boxes from places, and make sure you're utilizing that. So anyway, what we did with the Lowe's boxes, we know what the billable weight is going to be no matter what. Uh, so on a Lowe's small box, no matter what I put in there, Amazon's going to charge me, or UPS is going to charge me 15 pounds if I use a Lowe's small box. Um, Based on the measurements, that's what it is. So if I only put 10 pounds of product in that box, they're going to charge me for 15 pounds. If I put 30 pounds in that box, they're going to charge me for 30 pounds. So I am always looking at these numbers and trying to make sure um, I am putting enough weight in boxes because I want to stay in, excuse me, actual billable weight and not dimension billable weight. Because again, then you're just paying for space. So we're going to mix in if we know we're shipping a lot of, let's say we were shipping, we don't do pillows, but if we did, we would also be making sure all those shipments we're sending pillows in with, we're going to send in canned food or something that's heavy. We're mixing those batches up because it's not each individual box, it's your total box shipment plan that's figured into it. So we're already going to be paying more. We want to maximize that and not have to pay extra because of the size of the boxes and not having enough weight in it. So we are going to mix together our products in a shipment to again maximize that and not get into dimensional shipping. Those medium boxes are and the small boxes are two primary boxes we use that of boxes we have to pay for. So we absolutely always make sure our numbers are above those two. If you have questions, I know it's a little sometimes confusing, dimensional weight and billable weight, but the key is make sure you're sending that out. Inventory Lab does not tell us when we've hit dimensional weight. Seller Central does. That is one positive I do like over there. If before you printed your labels and accepted, the shipping cost, it would actually say you're shipping 200 pounds, but you're actually going to be billed for 250. So if you need, you could go back and change something at that. Again, reminder, we're shooting for 200 units minimum in a batch. It's not uncommon for us to have 400 to 500, and you're looking for 4 more units of each of the majority of the items. Um, and this is going into the strategy. It's pretty basic. It's not anything huge. Um, when I first was talking with Nate about this at the March sourcing camp, I remember he pulled out a clipboard and I saw him smile and he made a great comment. He goes, "What you're talking about, we should have been doing the entire time." And I didn't even think about it. And he was dead right. We should have been doing this simple strategy to help with shipping costs the entire time, and we didn't. So a few things that we do with our strategy to help keep our costs down. We have certain ASINs we send every single week. It's great items. Um, and so what we like to do is we always have these on hand. So if let's say we were sending 10 of these items or 20 of these items in on the shipment we're working on, but we really have 50, we're not going to send all 50. We're just going to send 20 because at the end, Amazon allows us to plus or minus and add up to 6 units, 5%, whatever's greater, to our shipments of these products. So we are going to pad orders. We'll talk about that on the next screen. So we'll get in the first, but we'll take a step back on that. First, we're going to go through the pre-strategy before we talk about padding orders. Let's get the weight. So after you've entered everything into your batch on Inventory Lab, you're going to hit your review just as normal, and then you're going to hit submit. And this is where it's going to give you your proposed warehouses that Inventory Lab has now communicated with Amazon, and they're now giving you your proposed shipments. And that's where you're going to see your warehouses. So this part of the strategy, we don't use a lot. This has always been there. It's always been allowed. The reason I say don't use it, we don't use it a lot. I don't want it abused. There's nothing in Amazon that says we can't do this or it's against policy. I just don't want to see this down the road go away. And it doesn't always do much difference. So I've seen some people saying they're clicking on it multiple times doing this. We might do it once, and if it doesn't change anything, we move on. The key is after you have hit review and then submitted your batch, do not hit create yet on those shipments, which is normally the first step. Once you create those shipments, you have locked into Amazon that you're going to send those shipments. And now Amazon has said if you decide to delete those shipments or not send them, there's also a fee out there for abandoning or deleting shipments, and you will be charged per unit for every item that you had originally said by creating that you are not sending. It's not huge. It varies from 1 cent to 4 cent per unit. But again, everything adds up. You will also get hit dinged with a violation on your inbound shipping metrics. Do not create without the expectation you're going to ship to these warehouses. And you have to ship to all the warehouses. That's another key thing they have said. You can't look at this and go, oh, yeah, they said 5 warehouses. One's in California. I'm just gonna ignore California. That's the abandoning piece. They are looking for the products to go there. If not, you're gonna get hit. And you're not just gonna get hit by abandoning California. They have said if that adjusts your other warehouses will also get hit with fees, and they can then go into inbound placement and say, well, because you didn't ship to the 4 warehouses, you only shipped to 3. Not only are we giving you the fee for abandoning the California warehouse, we're giving you the fee that would have been charged because you only shipped to 3 warehouses. Don't do this. That Amazon tells you to send to it. It sucks. Just you're going to have to factor in a little bit higher per pound shipping. So after you've submitted it and you've got your proposed warehouses, we're looking to see where these warehouses are. Over time, you're going to get familiar with codes of where the warehouses are. So we'll look at the splits, and we almost always get 5 warehouses, unless, like I said, we do shoes primarily, and they give us a few more. We are hoping we are going to have at least 2 of the warehouses be local. And for us, we know what's considered local. Obviously, anything in Indiana, uh, even our Illinois warehouses, even though we're several hours away from Illinois, they get the exact same shipping charge. Um, if we send there versus the warehouse that's 15 minutes from our house. It's just how the shipping rates work. So that is something key to know is what are your considered close warehouses. And then from there, like when we see Pennsylvania, it might be a penny more a pound for us or 2 pounds, 2 cents. We're good with that. That's not significant enough we're worrying about. We're really looking at did they only give us one local warehouse and then 4 warehouses on the West Coast or the East Coast, and shipping's going to be astronomical. Um, if that's the case, so if we get say 4 California warehouses and 1 local, you can then go in the bottom right hand, again, you have not created the orders. This is key. You can look in the bottom right corner on the screen, and there's a button that says decline shipment. If you decline shipment, it will take you back to your batches and you can adjust from there, or you can come back in and try and resubmit. And there's a good chance they're going to give you a different split and potentially different warehouse. Again, that's one part of the strategy for this. So you can then, we did this one time, and in that exact example, we had 1 local warehouse and 4 West Coast warehouses. When we declined the shipment and we resubmitted it, when it came back through, we now had 2 local warehouses and only 3 West Coast, which made a significant difference in our shipping cost at that point. The other nice thing about this declined shipment option, we saw this with an oversized item that we were sending. The item was over 18 inches in Amazon's system, but it wasn't really over 18 items, and we didn't catch this. We talk about this in remeasure. If you look back through posts, you can see the remeasure um, on that topic and how that works. But what was happening, because this one item was over 18 inches, even though it wasn't for us, Amazon saw that as oversized. And remember, I said there's certain categories Amazon can send to additional warehouses. So for this one item, Amazon was saying, hey, you're going to need to send this to, I think it was Las Vegas warehouse. Well, that one item weighed like 8 ounces. It would have cost us $7 or $8 to send that one item because it was miscoded wrong by the measurements to that warehouse. So we were able to go in, decline the shipment, and then we had already looked at what the one item was, because you can see in the proposed shipments, you can click on them and see what items they're sending where. We looked to see what that one item was, declined the shipment. We went into the batch. We removed that from our batch and said, hey, we're just going to FBM this item. Or we were going to look at maybe it's a Walmart item, or maybe it's eBay, or probably it'll end up being FBM. And then we went back in and we submitted the batch. Life was good. That one item wasn't there. That was missized. Otherwise, that would have dramatically increased our shipping costs. So same thing if you get hit with a shipment plan and you didn't realize 5 of your items are hazmat. And again, you can go back in, take those off, decide what to do with that. Again, Amazon policy does not say this is not allowed. It's still there. Actually, in Seller Central, you used to be able to do this. I don't know now because, or if that option is still there, because I don't use Seller Central. Um, Again, we do not try to do this. The other thing with this that we definitely do not do is I've seen some comments about doing this strategy to actually get it to fewer warehouses than the four warehouse that's required for optimization pricing or no fee. We do not recommend this. And I think now with Inventory Lab updating the estimated fee showing, Amazon has said if you don't send to four warehouses, we you will be charged. Now I know right now the estimated fee is showing zero. The screenshots I've seen, their fine print says you will be charged. So I do not recommend going in, hitting the decline button, and trying to do this multiple times, hoping it'll eventually update, or you're removing items to get your number of warehouses under four. I don't recommend that on that. But again, it's your own business. Do how you please with it. All right. So the other little bit of the trick um, and the strategy we do that Amazon has said we can do for now. We know Amazon's always updating stuff, and there is one piece of this um, that we'll talk about, and that was part of the delay I had in getting this video up, because I had heard some of the fine print may have changed. I did find where it changed um, for down the road, uh, but we'll talk about where it is now. So you've reviewed, you've submitted your batches, you've got your proposed shipments, you're good with the warehouses they're sending to you. You're going to go in, you're going to create and accept each warehouse like you normally would. So now, if you go into each warehouse, um, our goal is going to be as much to add as much product to our local warehouses and get our local warehouses orders as big as they can be within reason, um, which is going to mean we're shipping closer at the lower per pound rate, which is going to bring our overall pound rate. So we're still shipping to California. We're still shipping everywhere they tell us to ship. We're just trying to get as much product locally because that'll help our average. So what we're going to do is we've got our we're just going to assume you got 5 warehouses for optimization. We are going to look at the 5 warehouses and see which warehouse is furthest away from us and going to cost the most to ship there per pound. And we start with them. That is the warehouse we are not, if we got to pull something from, because that's where we want to pull it. So we're going to start boxing up that. And lately, by sending 200 plus units, based on what we send, even sending, let's say when we do 400 units, it seems like our furthest away warehouses normally have 50 to 70 items, and with what we sell, normally that can be one box. Sometimes, uh, we get two boxes, but really it's about one box. So we're going to start boxing up the furthest away warehouse and checking the weight as we go. And if that total shipment was to be, say, 60 pounds, we're not looking to start a second box. We're going to look, how do we keep this under 50 pounds, and what can we take off? And we'll then move those products over to the local warehouse. We are not taking off from our main warehouse, or these warehouses. If they're telling us to send 10 items, we're not taking 6 of that one ASIN off to get it down to 4. We're only taking a handful off. We we're not. I don't recommend this. Amazon definitely will change stuff. The plus minus 6 rule up to 4 or 5%, which is greater. We'll touch on that. They are making a change, I think. Um, I don't recommend that. I don't recommend, if they're telling you to ship 50 units to a warehouse, I don't recommend trying to get that down to like 12 units or something. Changing a few units here and there isn't, it's fully within their policy. Um, and I don't mind that some of our products are going, like I said earlier, to the West Coast or the East Coast, because I know they pay more. That also means my products are going to be get there quicker, and I can turn my cash flow. I can turn my money quicker, and I can tell you the few pennies I'm saving, turning my money quicker is going to make me a lot more money at that point. So again, we're packing those boxes, making sure we're utilizing the space in the boxes. Um, we're making sure we stay within billable weight, actual weight, so we don't get into dimensional weight the best we can um, on that. So as we work through, we start with the furthest warehouses, and then we get to our local warehouses. The local warehouses, we are going to add as much to those as we can in plus minus. So in this case, the plus. Uh, so if we have, like I said, this is where we're taking any of the items we had to remove from our furthest away shipments because they wouldn't fit in the box. And that's actually what Amazon, even in their fine print, says. We understand, as you're boxing, you may not have space. Heck, they even say maybe it got damaged while boxing. We understand you may have to take some stuff out. We are then sending anything we pulled out of those shipments, we are then adding to the shipments that are close, provided they had those same ASINs. But then we're also taking the items that we set aside ahead of time, because like I said in my example, just because we had 50 doesn't mean we put 50 into the shipment. We put maybe only 20 in the shipment, and then we're going to add to our close warehouses, or even closer. It doesn't have to be our ones with the lowest rates, but we're going to use those to add those extra items up to the 6 uh, to those, to get those orders larger and those shipments bigger, and that'll bring our overall rate down. This is what Nate and I were talking about. We should have been doing this the whole time. We never shipped to just one warehouse before March 1st. We always had 3 warehouses typically. We should have been moving some of our product and padding some of our local warehouses when that happened to get the rate down. So Amazon is saying we can still do the plus minus 6 units on ASIN or 5%, which is greater. I can tell you, to get into the 5%, I mean, if you ship 100 units, that still means you can only change it by 5. So for most everyone, it is going to be 6 units. What I did find a change in the fine print, and they've got 2 different sections on it that contradict each other a little bit. The new update has taken out the plus or minus 6 and only says 5%. But then there's another section where the fine print says up to 10 units now instead of 6 units. So right now, everything is in the API, which is what everyone's using. If they're using Inventory Lab, is still set up to allow, we can shift a ASIN by 6 units either way. Or like I said, if let's say you did have 200 units of a shipment, that means you could adjust it 10 units. But realistically, for everyone, it's plus or minus 6. So the closer warehouses, we are adding as many units as we can to get those orders up larger. And again, that's going to help lower our overall per pound. Anything we're keeping aside, um, that's what we're doing with this. You could also, on a smaller scale, let's say you had 20 items, you could only say that I'm entering 5 units. So you're expecting 1 unit. Odds are 1 unit's going to go to all 5 locations, is what Amazon's going to tell Inventory Lab to do. And then only your close warehouses, you add those other. I do not recommend if you've got like 10 units, only entering that you're going to ship 1 because you don't know where that 1's going to go. And again, then you've got your 9 units sitting there that you're doing nothing with. Again, that goes back into turning your money quicker. If you got to wait till the next round of shipments, kind of defeated the purpose on what you were saving. So again, this is what we're doing. You know, the first step is getting the proposed shipments, the option that you can see to try and get more favorable shipment plan of locations. We're also making sure we don't have any hazmat. We're not approved for that, so we don't run into that right now. Or oversized items that we weren't aware of, or for whatever reason, it sends an oddball 1 item somewhere, we can delete that off. And then we can try also, like I said, to try and get 2 local warehouses. Again, we don't do that over and over. Our time is also valuable. We'll give it 1 try and see what comes back. And then it really comes down to how do we get more products that are going to our local warehouse. That is really the biggest strategy and tip, is shipping that. Do all the basics ahead of time. Make sure you're filling your boxes, getting the weights right, taking advantage of the fees that Amazon's putting out there, the reductions, the rebates, the offers that they've got for us. So again, I'll put this out there. I'll also put the PowerPoint separate. Thanks everyone. I know kind of lengthy to get to the last basically 2 slides that talk about the strategy. So appreciate everyone watching, and have a beautiful, a wonderful day. South